Hi, this is Colin from Watch Off the Cuff. Today, doing something pretty basic. I'm going to do a battery change on this Fossil Architect. I think the model number is FS-2991. So we're going to hit the bench and we're going to do a battery change. Let's hit it. All right, first of all, just to get access to the back of the watch here, I'm just going to pop this pin out. And what we'll do is we'll just grab one from the clasp here. We'll just take a look. We'll do this end one here. So I'm just going to use this small tool. We're going to pop in the thing there. We're going to put our finger over while we pull it away, or else it goes flying across the room. And then we'll just pull that out. It's a little sticky. Get that out. There we go. So we got that out. And now we've got access to the watch. There's a little bit of a lip on either side, which might make it easier to get the back off, but if I run my nail, I can feel the indent on this side to pop off the snapback case. And it's an integrated bracelet anyway, so it's pretty easier if we just go with this side. So if we just take a case knife, this happens to be the Bergeon number 7403. It's a Swiss Army knife with a case knife built in, which is nice and handy. I'm just gonna grab a cloth here and hold it like this, and I'm just going to press inside. The mistake people make, I probably talked to videos a bunch of this thing, is they think it is a pry, not a press. So typically we just press in, direct straight in and to the notch. And this one's on there pretty tight. And then if you pry, then what happens is you end up prying and you end up sliding and scratching the back of the case. So we are trying to avoid that at all costs. So there we go. Just popped in there, you heard the click. And we can move the case knife up and down a little bit. Give it a little bit of a, here I'm already breaking my news. I did a little bit of a pry there, but it wasn't under pressure. That's the difference. We've already had it sort of pop. I'm just gonna go around. Sometimes it's handy and I have a lever here. This happens to be a 2.5 millimeter lever. And then sometimes if it's part of the way and I just want a little bit of a lever action, then I can do that. I've got some tape on it to prevent scratching the case. So still a little stubborn. Like anything I tell people, just be patient. You know, when you start rushing it, that's when like, you know, bad things start to happen. So there we go. So we've got that popped out. As you can see here, typical, we've got a plastic retaining ring, and it looks like it's a Renata 371, and I actually happen to use the Renata brand myself. So what we'll do is I'm just going to use my polyamide probe here. You could use a piece of pegwood and sharpen it and make it into like a flat end. I do that here. There's a piece of pegwood there. I usually sharpen one and then flatten one, and as I mar it, I trim it down. As you can see here, they just get smaller and smaller and smaller until I can't use them anymore. Like there's how long they are when they start. And this is a couple ones. And as soon as they stop fitting comfortably in my hand, like these ones are getting close, I want to be able to sit it in this part of my hand, then I just get rid of them. But anyway, I digress. In this case, I'm going to use a probe. The advantage to using the polyamide probe, this one's the Bergeon 7010, is that with the wood ones, you run the risk sometimes of a little fleck of wood coming off and then going into the watch movement. That's bad. So anyway, so there's a couple of holes around the outside here. And then what we'll do is we'll just take a piece of pegwood here. Then I'm just going to hold the movement so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to gently go around and use the holes that are available here. And we'll pop that off. So another thing too, I can just use a pair of regular tweezers. When possible, it's always nice to use plastic. Again, it's just, we wouldn't want anything metal to touch the coil there. And we're going to use the probe again. Sometimes the screw holds it back, or it's screwed down. Sometimes it doesn't. So if I sit here, and instead of me, I don't know if you noticed, I'm trying to keep the camera. Instead of me going like this and then obviously slipping, I pressed it in here and then used my other finger, trying to sort of keep my thing. And then I can control how far it goes. So in this case, it's come out a little bit under the spring tension, and then I can take the tweezer and I can come in from this side and I can just pull out the thing. Again, what you want to avoid is, for example, using something metal like this that I use to get the bracelet off, putting it in here, slipping, and then touching that coil, and then it's all over. So anyway, just a little bit of practical advice to do everything safely and controlled. I'm just going to go to my drawer here and get a 371. And we can pop it in there. So you notice I've got finger cots on here. I don't want to touch the battery or anything inside the watch itself. I'm going to do the same thing. I've got the battery in there. I'm going to put it in the hole. I'm going to use my finger to gently push it aside. Pop it down. Oh, it didn't sit on the way. And there it is. Now, that little screw here was not screwed down. Some of them screw down and lock and some of them don't. This one does not. But if it does, I always try to like screw it down and go from there. Okay, so we'll replace this ring. Sometimes that one just fit in really nice. Sometimes if they don't, if the crown, especially on like a dive watch where it's got a spring loaded and screw down crown, it'll create pressure when you take the ring out, the movement will shift. So sometimes if you're having trouble getting this in, it doesn't seem to sit, pull the crown out and it'll remove whatever tension the crown might be putting against the movement itself. Okay, so we've got that part done. Next, we are going to polyamide probe again. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to gently push the gasket. I'm going to just pull that gasket out like so. And I'm going to take a little bit of Rotico and I'm just going to go all the way around it. It's actually very clean, but we'll flip it over. Get all the stuff out of it. There we go. I'm going to go around the seat on the case itself. There. And again, it's very clean. I'm just going to quickly take a little bit of Rotico and I'm just going to pick up whatever junk. There's a little bit there around the edges. There we go. So that's done. So then we're going to get this case. This is by Hortec. This Lubra box. It's got silicone 7 in it. You can use a generalized silicone grease for watches. And we're going to pop it in there. And we're going to give it a little wiggle. And we'll just boost this up there a little bit. And we'll put this back on. This isn't perfectly square, so we're just going to take a quick look and just make sure that it's set up the right way. Actually, that looks perfect. Just in case we had to rotate the gasket 90 degrees to get it back in the correct position. I also noted which way the gasket was up. So put it back down there. Oh, still a little sneak out. We'll press that down all the way around. Just want to make sure it's sitting flat in there. This is a flat gasket, not a round one. So just, again, just a little bit of extra time. And okay, so now we're going to put it back in. There's an index mark on here that tells you it goes there towards the crown. The other giveaway would be when I put the back on, if the top of the watch here is on this side, when I flip over, does the writing still end up being upright? I bet this was pretty tight that I cannot put it in by hand, and it doesn't look like I can. So I'm going to grab the press and zoom out, and I'll show you using the press to put this snapback case back on. Okay, hopefully that angle is going to be a little bit better. We're going to grab this this case, and then we're going to get a couple of different dies here. So you want to make sure the die doesn't, when we press down, we don't touch the crystal itself because we can crack it. So that is a little too wide. And we'll go with this one right here. So it's going to line up just on the outside of this bezel here. So what we can do is we can put on this die like this, and I'll set it up. I'll screw it down so it's pretty close to the bottom. And then I'll just make sure I'll have it the die here parallel to me so I can see. So it's not quite, so we're just going to back it up to there. And then the back, I could use another square die, but I'd like to have more contact, and since it's basically square to go all the way around. So I'm going to use that die there that it fits. And we're going to use just a round die on the top, even though it's actually square. The difference is if I had a square one, I could only do the edges, and I want to do the whole thing and apply steady pressure down on the watch. So anyway, so I've got that there. And again, I like to check. I'm like, okay, I'm just taking a quick check, and I can see the dimple, so I've got it in the correct position. Sometimes those dimples, it's an indicator mostly, but sometimes if you do it on the wrong indicator, the case back's going to come in. It's actually going to hit that crown stem and bend it or break it. So anyway, so we'll get this here. And this one is on tight enough that it's probably gonna, I was gonna say, sometimes you have to line them up and it takes a little bit finicky, be patient. And there you go, it worked right away. Okay, so with all the explaining I wanted to do with every little step, I can see that the hand is not moving. So before we put the clasp back together, because of course we haven't done our job for our customer because they don't have a working watch, we're going to find out what's going on the side. And I did a complete video of this before, but what we're going to do is we're going to use the Horatech Turbo and the Horatech Pulse to do a little bit of troubleshooting here. So I did see that it was moving a little bit. Maybe what I'm going to do too, let's pause. I'm going to change the angle again. Hold on. Okay, back at it. Okay, so I can see here that the second hand is trying to move, but it's stuck. So if I couldn't see whether it was moving, I can use this, and that tells me that it's listening for the impulse to the coil. So I know that the battery change I've done is good. The circuit is actually firing, as opposed to if it was hacking, if I pulled the crown out, for example. I don't know what this does. Let's try that. Let's say we're going to pull the crown out like I'm setting it, and then nothing. So you got to make sure crown's in. There we go. The timing circuit's working, but it's stuck. This watch could have sat around for a while. So what we can do now is probably just a little bit gummed up. I mean, we're well out of COVID now, but it was not an uncommon thing where people would let this, have the watch run out and then not do anything for 2 or 3 years. I don't know whether it's close enough to get it to the thing. You have to move it around so the magnetic field is in the correct position for the coil. But if we can get that in the right spot, hopefully we can wing it around. And again, I think the problem here is this integrated bracelet a little bit, since we can't get the watch right down on it. The other alternative would be to decase the movement and then put the movement directly on the pad. We'll see whether we can't get away with this. And the question is, so now that we've done that, we've got a little run, it looks like it's released and it's working. So we'll check for a minute. But it looks like, even though we didn't give it like a wing around, like, like for, 7 or 8 minutes worth of revolutions, it looks like that it's opened up and good. So what I'm going to do now is, I've got some other work to do. I will set this watch and then I'll come back later and make sure that it's running. But that's a use of the pulse and the turbo, and you can see we got the watch going where otherwise it would have been stuck. So that's it for now. Shameless plug. Things like this Bergeron Swiss Army knife with the case knife built in, hand levers, pegwood, pin drivers, which we used, the 7010 Bergeron probe. All of these are in stock and available for sale at watchoffthecuff.com. Oh, and a little cute luber box with the silicone 7 for the gases in the back. Anyway, till next time, thank you very much. Cheers. Totally lied. I said cheers and I realized I'm not done. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We got to put this guy back in here. So I took off the clasp from the back there. We're going to put that back in. And we're going to place it in the hole there. And I'm just going to use, this happens as another shameless plug. This is the Bergeron 6767 spring bar tool. I'm just going to get that into place on the bottom. And I'm just going to use the fork to grab the end of the spring bar. Oh, we're out. Everything went so smoothly, and now there we go. We're in the bottom there now, and probably my finger's in the way so nobody can see what I'm doing. So then I'm going to grab, with the forked end, the little flange that's on there, press it down, press the top down a little more, put it in there, and we'll make sure that lines up to the hole, which it is not lined up right there. There we go. We're back in business. So we'll set that watch, we'll put it under test to make sure that it runs after it was a little bit jammed up. But with the Horatech Pulse and Horatech Turbo, we were able to do a little bit of diagnostic and get ourselves out of trouble and make a happy customer. Cheers.